And so today, this question is from Marissa Mundy from Restorative Counseling Services in Atlanta, Georgia. And Marissa asks about how to handle a therapist quitting. How do you handle a therapist quitting? So, pretty excited about this question because I remember back when I had my practice, mental wellness counseling in Traverse City, Michigan. We had, I think, 11 or 12 therapists when we were at our peak. And there was this one therapist, and I remember doing the intake interview with her. And I really wanted a play therapist. I really wanted someone that could help kids, but there was something that just didn't sit right. But I hired her anyway. And it was one of those moments where I really learned an important lesson about slowing down when you're hiring. Because, when you hire someone on, you really want them to match the culture. And this individual would often kind of cause drama. We were a no drama office before this person. And so this person shared an office with someone that helped angry teenagers. And this individual would like leave scissors out. And so then when that next therapist would come in, they put the scissors away because they were dealing with angry kids. They didn't want to have scissors out from play therapy. And then there'd be a scathing email that went out to the whole team that said, "Where are my scissors? Who keeps moving my scissors?" And then it became this big thing. And I remember eventually giving this person feedback on that and saying, I think it's time for you to go. This just isn't really a good fit. And she broke down crying. And I realized in that moment that giving feedback, not just when you're about to let someone go, um, but ongoing if there's issues so that someone sees that there's a chance to change, um, is really important when you're a supervisor or an owner. And so I created a plan with that person in regards to how often to email, how often to like what kind of things are really worth getting all bent out of shape over, at least within our culture. And so it was like she'd get all mad if someone printed something off of her printer and wanted 50 cents for the ink. And I mean, I get that there's times when you're on a budget, but if that's that important to you, don't bring your own personal printer into the office. And there's just so many different things. So sometimes what ended up happening is she wanted to just kind of leave and start her own practice. And even though I had a non-compete, we both decided that it was better for her to go. So sometimes when someone leaves, it's just a good thing. It's a chance to reassess, a chance to say, what did I do well? What could I have improved on? I do think that if someone's quitting, to do some sort of exit conversation. I don't think it needs to be a full on interview. That can be either in person. Sometimes, if that person wants to write something up about what could improve, it's a chance for you to reflect on yourself, but also sometimes people just aren't a fit. The way you run your practice may not be a fit for everyone. And that doesn't mean that if someone leaves, that you have to adjust or change based on that feedback because some people may say that they wanted something that you weren't willing to give. So, for example, with mental wellness counseling, I wanted it to be a place that we could show up, do good work, and go home. I wasn't looking to have another set of friends, another set of family. Wasn't looking to hang out for an extra hour after work and just chit chat it up. No, I wanted to show up, do my work, and go home. I was busy. I had young kids. I had friends. I had a full life outside of my business, and so I personally was not looking to be chummy with my coworkers. No, I wanted to get along with them. I wanted to support them, and that was a fine line that I had to learn to walk where I could be approachable, but also realize that I had bigger things I was working on. I mean, I was working on practice the practice. I was working on growing the podcast. And those were big goals for me. And mental wellness counseling was something that it was great to have, but I knew I was clear on what I wanted out of that. So if someone left and said, Joe, you need to have more barbecues with everybody and you need to have more connections and yes, maybe I would choose to do that, but also a lot of the people I attracted were people in similar situations to me where maybe they had a full-time job and they wanted to come in 2 evenings a week and make a bunch of money. And they wanted to help a bunch of people or they wanted to dip their toes into private practice and see if that was something that they wanted to do. And so knowing what kind of culture you have and then taking that feedback or not taking that feedback when someone leaves is really important. Also, when someone quits, evaluate that position. So if that was a counselor position, do you want someone that's just going to replace that person? Or it could be a chance to revise things. And so, especially if it's an executive assistant or some sort of virtual assistant, it's a great chance to say, do we want to reorganize in a different way? Do we want to, hire someone exactly the same as who's leaving? Or do maybe we want to do this a little bit differently? And so it's a great chance to kind of reevaluate how you've structured your business. I also think that a couple things to look at when you're starting to dip your toes back into the rehiring process is to really look at what types of clinicians you want moving forward. What kind of phone calls are you getting where you're turning people away? How can you start to replicate yourself? So, if you're the only person that's Gottman level 2 certified and you help couples, but there's no one else in your practice, at a certain point, you're going to want to replace yourself. So, it might be good to find someone or to train someone up in those areas. And so, when someone leaves, sometimes, especially if you don't see it coming, it can be quite a shock, and you may see a dip in your income. There's going to be questions around whether they can keep their clients, whether they can't keep their clients. What's the contract say? Is there a non compete? All those different things that you've probably worked with your attorney on. But it's a shock to the system. So also do your own self care. Take the time to take some deep breaths, to meditate, to go for walks, and to realize that this is why you have 3 months of expenses saved up. I always recommend that people have at least 3 months so that if these things happen, which inevitably they will, you'll see dips in clients, you'll see people leave, you'll see people come. They won't fill up as fast as you expect them to, that we aren't backed into the corner financially and making dumb decisions then. Instead, we can make solid business decisions because you've got some savings, you've got a buffer, you've got some time to rebuild. So go out there and rebuild and do as much as you can